Hey everyone, welcome back to On a Journey with WeWork India. This time we're actually going to be speaking to two sets of entrepreneurs, one that has established a business over time and one that is just starting off on the middle of their growth journey. So today I'm here with both Rashi and Mansi. Rashi runs and has founded Heads Up for Tailz, and Mansi has founded Tailz. Both of them are in the pet space. And it's an industry that we all know has grown exponentially over the last decade or like 2 decades or so. I think in the early days, the pet care industry was very functional. I remember when I was a kid going to just buy stuff for my dog, you had to go to the vet or, something similar, and you just got the calcium bones and then like basic leashes. That's all that you could, really get. I think the industry's come a long way, and I'm super excited to, have this conversation with both of y'all, learn a little bit. So welcome to both of you guys, and we're gonna keep this as natural and as informal as possible. I also want you guys to, hopefully ask each other some questions and use this time to hopefully learn from each other's stories as well. Something that we see at WeWork is that a large company always wants to act and be like a smaller company because you want to stay nimble and learn from it. And smaller companies obviously trying to become large. So I think that a lot of sharing of knowledge can definitely happen. So welcome. I just want to give you guys both the chance to introduce, both of the companies. So Rashi, maybe we can start with you. Sure. And just to give, our audience a quick snippet of Heads Up for Tailz, the size, and how you kind of started on this journey.
Sure. Thank you so much for having us here, Karan.
Yeah.
It's lovely to be here at WeWork. And just as a quick introduction, at Heads Up for Tailz, we create and curate innovative products and services, and we hope that they bring joy to pets and their families. Currently, we are at 75 stores, and we also have an online presence, so it is an omni-channel company trying to really integrate and build that further. But we've also spent the last 15 years on really creating many new India first products, more than about 200 now. And all of this was inspired by my dog, Sarah. And I couldn't seem to find anything quality worthy of for her. Like you just mentioned, right? It was just really the very basics that were available on the shelves. And so I started out very tiny, homegrown, and it's been quite a journey and a lovely one, I have to say.
Awesome. And congratulations for everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mansi?
So Tailz, we are in front of Heads Up for Tailz. We're like a small puppy, just starting out.
Yeah.
We are like Airbnb for dogs. And
Nice.
So, we keep talking about products, we keep talking about accessories, but we were really struggling to find like quality boarding, and quality information around where to, what services can we use, where do we get these services, walking, daycare, even simple things like, training, grooming, what is puppy biting, very, very small things. I was struggling as a pet parent, and I think that's what got me thinking. That's how the idea of starting Tailz came about. Today we are live in 5 metros, and we have about 300 hosts. Lots of happy puppies and lots of happy dogs around us.
Yeah.
We're just starting out. I think we're really inspired by what Heads Up for Tailz has done.
That's awesome.
And,
Thank you.
Great. So I think, Heads Up for Tailz, obviously the story and the presence is I think more known since, they've been around for so long. So I wanted to understand from you, Mansi, how did you come up with this? I know, when the Airbnb model started, they had so many challenges in, even getting hosts familiar with this or comfortable with, taking some stranger's apartment or like living in a stranger's apartment. I'm sure that it's a very similar challenge that you guys had to face thinking about taking, someone else's dog. Or how did you start? And can you just walk us through some of those stories? Anything
Sure.
funny that came out of that?
Absolutely. So yeah, we have tons of those. But so how it started is what usually happens is when you have to leave a dog, if you're not going to a kennel or if you're not going to a big boarding place, you usually go to friends or family.
Right.
So that also happens, right? That was the starting point. So we said, let's formalize that. If we were to formalize it, so there are friends and family or there are people around you who are willing to keep your dog for you. So we kind of formalized that entire thing. And we said, so there are a lot of people who love dogs, but they don't want to take that responsibility or they don't have the time to keep one full time, right? So let's create a community of people like this. So these are the hosts, right?
Yeah.
So they're not doing this as a profession or they're not doing this because only for money, right? They're doing this because they love dogs. They want to be around dogs. So we keep getting calls. Can I get puppies? I want a golden retriever. We're like, yes. I want to be around a small Shih Tzu. Is that possible? We're like, yes, we'll do that. As soon as we get a request for a golden retriever, we'll make sure you get that. So you do get a lot of calls like that. While we say that, again, as a pet parent, the biggest concern for us is safety. And, the host understands that it comes with a responsibility as well. You're hosting somebody else's baby, literally, right? So just a small number that I was sharing with Rashi earlier as well. We had 7,000 applications to become host. And we've actually only taken 300 live right now. So it's a process for us to vet and make sure that the right kind of people are coming into the community and they're genuine dog lovers. So I think yes. So yes, if people are interested and they can absolutely come and join, and if they love dogs, Tailz is the place.
So how did you get your first host?
First host, yes, that's interesting. So when we started out, my co-founder was the first host. Okay. We listed her house. We said, please start hosting. So a lot of things were the first with her. So like she got a dog snapped. So that was the first for us, how to manage an emergency when a dog snaps. And that can also happen, right? Yeah. And like how do you manage pet parents generally? Like how does the meet and greet happen? How do you introduce yourself? Very small things we learned with her. She's like, am I are you testing with me? So and the other, we went live with 30 in Delhi, and we actually visited each host, having tea with them, sharing a meal or something, and then that helped us build the entire process as well. What are we actually looking when we're visiting them? So the first few hosts that went live, we went and we literally visited each place. It was a lot through network, close friends, their relatives and their friends going live on the platform. That's how we went live with our first 30.
Awesome. It's always interesting to hear, an entrepreneur's like grassroots level story, because I think before you have a team, before you have anything, you're kind of doing all of that,
Absolutely.
yourself. So Rashi, do you remember that time? What were those first for you, and how did you kind of build those initial building blocks that kind of got you here?
I think the first couple of years, Karan, we were trying to establish the very basics. One was the product, the supply chain. None of that existed. No vendors wanted to work with us. They found it a little bit offensive. The industry didn't really exist. Retailers was a challenge. They didn't understand the products we were building. So we had to build out the front end, the back end. But most importantly, we also had to build the customer. 15 years ago, the awareness just wasn't there on why any of this was needed. Lots of dogs were outside the home. A lot of them were tied up at gates, used for guarding purposes. So the relationship was so different, and it's come such a long way, that evolved, the whole evolution of pet owners to pet parents. And so I think that those first few years were literally just, building out the basics of the industry and really trying to, test our products and actually build them and release them into the market.
So where did it go from, doing something for your own dog to then realizing, I can now spend the next 15 years, doing this, or I want to spend the next 15 years doing this, what was that flip that happened? Or was
I
it like a more
think,
gradual thing?
No, I think that, it was this one specific day when I went to get Sarah a birthday present. It was her first birthday. And I came home empty-handed. Like I couldn't find anything, not even like a tiny little anything. So I think that was that moment when I realized that I was so sure that there were others like me who wanted to do more for these very, very special family members and didn't have anything. And I just saw it as a white space, but I just literally, I didn't quite think that it would, the dream was very small that time, that how can I do more for Sarah and for a little bit more of the community around me. But, there was a lot of customer love and there was a lot of excitement and enthusiasm, and then it's taken a long time.
I know, it's crazy now. Like India, I mean, my dog gets a birthday cake which is, shape that she loves.
Yeah.
I have a couple of friends who are, new pet owners in the sense that they've not had kids, I mean, like dogs since since they were kids. So they're at extra level now where the dog only gets like, home cooked food that gets frozen or like packaged and sent to them every day. So it's, definitely moving in a crazy direction, I think. Sometimes even human kids are not caring as much as some of these dog parents are doing for their dogs and other animals. So it's really interesting. And do you think it's something that was maybe just in the last few years? Have you seen this trend actually happening? It's been 15 years since you've been doing this. So when do you think was the real turning point?
I think since about 2017, 18, that's when we started to really see the momentum pick up a little bit. Until then, it was really quite a struggle. And that's when we also decided to sort of take bigger chances, open more stores, go into, stronger, more prime locations. But still, Karan, a lot of what we are talking about is really the top end of the pyramid. There is a lot below that is still, where there's very little awareness of how we can help our pets live their best lives. And I think that's what we're really trying to get out there and change mindsets, help with education, help with consultations, not just, sell, but I think that's really where we see a lot of the magic still waiting to happen.
Right. So a lot more to...
A lot of work to be done.
Lot more to do,
yes.
for sure.
Yes.
Just to sort of double click on both of your learnings in this industry. You've been doing this for a year now, and obviously Rashi for a little bit longer. What do you see as some of the biggest bright stars, that's happening, and then changes that are happening, and maybe what are some of the things that you see that are, need a lot more of our attention, or, hopefully your attention to help fix?
As Rashi mentioned, right, for my grandparents, the dog was outside the house.
Right.
For my parents, the dog was in the house. For me, he's on the recliner.
Yeah.
So, right, that's the change.
Yeah.
And that's the bright star. What needs work is, I think, as again Rashi mentioned, there is so much of awareness that needs to be done. Even simple things like vaccinations for us, when we are offering services, that's like the basic, right? You need the vaccinations. We are struggling with that as well. To build awareness around the fact that how do you take care of your dog? There's just so much work that needs to be done. And I keep joking with my co-founders that just like the babies outside India don't cry, the dogs also don't bark. and we're not even talking about training in India, right? So, I think all these aspects, there's just so much that needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's like an open field.
Yeah, for sure. Rashi, what about you?
I think for me, just I agree with Mansi, just that, they're on the recliners and in our beds, and they have become such a core part of family.
Yeah.
Right? For somebody, the dog is a sibling. For somebody, they're a child. For somebody, a really special friend or a companion. And they've taken on all of these roles. In societies which are, moving very fast, so much urbanization, there is still loneliness, there is stress, there is all of these things happening. Kids, lots of couples are choosing not to have children.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm very happy to see that people are just discovering the magic of being able to share their homes and family and their lives with animals. I mean, it's just so special. How much they bring to our lives.
Yeah.
And I think that, they really deserve all that we're doing and so much more in terms of just helping them live their best lives, because I don't know if we're doing it all right. They're in small apartments, they don't have enough open spaces or time to just be dogs or cats. And I hope that a lot of this education and awareness can change that, because they really do deserve the absolute best.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no better feeling when you walk, come home, either from traveling or, from just the office, and then just get abundance of love.
Yeah.
When you, Rashi, were looking at scale or trying to sort of move from, a single store to all the stores that you guys, 75 stores, I think that you said now, how did that happen? I believe you started online, before you even had the physical store. So can you just walk us through some of that?
Yes, absolutely. So we started online in 2008. But there was no discoverability. There was no one searching for any of the products that we were trying to make. And we realized that, because it was such a new industry, all the products were India first. We had to be able to have physical locations where people may come in looking for the basics. And then we're able to offer them and educate them on so many more things that actually are useful. And so, with our first couple of stores, we really just experimented with size and, categories and how to sell and display and all of that. Again, it was completely new, as a learning, as an industry for us. And we stumbled so much from even going from 1 to 2 stores, 2 to 3, right? Not being able to find people, because the pet industry really wasn't considered, anything to do with career growth. It was still, so new. So really trying to get people from scratch and train them and convince them that, listen, this is a good space to be in.
Yeah.
And then just learn so much for ourselves. But I think that we wanted to do something different. A lot of the pet stores that I had been visiting, they were not, many a times I wouldn't even go inside. I'd just ask for maybe a bag of something from outside.
Right.
And so I think we just wanted to create something different where your pet came shopping with you, could try things, could see what's exciting him or her.
And I think, you also lived abroad, right? In Singapore. So did that have any influence on, the gap that you saw, then finally the change that you wanted to make?
Not in terms of pet stores.
Okay.
I think Singapore also has a lot of potential. They still also have sort of old format pet stores. But I think in general, Singapore is so far ahead on retail experience. Their retail is absolutely phenomenal, the whole experience of it all. So I think I was definitely inspired by how nicely they do it and how well it's kept and what a pleasant experience it is. So I'm sure that, subconsciously a lot of that came into whatever I could bring in, did come into some of our stores to say, how do we really make this more welcoming and a happier place?
And I think also just what you've done amazingly is you created a brand around it. I think that also definitely shouldn't go unnoticed. It's very hard to create a brand that everyone firstly recalls, and then you trust and can sort of identify as I would say in India maybe even it's definitely the category defining type of brand. If I think about a pet store, that's the first thing that sort of like pops up in my head. What do you think was the secret or like success around that? Do you think the physical stores finally ended up being the catapult to making people aware of the brand?
I don't know if it was any one thing, but I do know that all of my team and I have approached it with a lot of sincerity, with a lot of honesty, with just that one principle that how do we do the best for our pets? Whether it was any kind of product, whether it was any kind of advice, whether it was us learning with the through nutritionists and groomers and trainers and behaviorists about what is going on in the world, how is it evolving, what are we doing, and how can we really bring this to the business. So I think that brand is really about trust, and we've just really been trying to build it one day at a time, whole heart. There wasn't much, we weren't like marketeers or anyone with that kind of a background, but it's just a lot more than just a business for us. And I still feel like we've come a long way, but there's such a long way to go. So I hope that we can just keep that.
So okay, tell me, what does that look like when you like shut your eyes and you're like 15 years fast forward from here or whatever that time period is? What does it look like?
I want have to be a global brand.
You want to be a global brand? That's
across
incredible.
The world.
Yeah.
Because even when I travel, honestly, Karan, I just feel like there is so much that we're still so far ahead of in the market that, we still have to sort of, really like the market still needs to catch up.
So when is that happening? When is the first international store?
I hope next year.
Oh, really?
Wow, yes.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. That's
and
the plan.
Where?
We're thinking of Southeast Asia at the moment.
Okay.
But let's see what life has in store.
That's incredible. I hope to be 15 years older and traveling around the world and seeing your stores everywhere.
Thank you.
Mansi, what about you? I mean, you're obviously just starting off, and I know that at least when I was starting on this journey, you have these amazing like fantasies also in which are, by the way, what keeps you going through all of the times when things get tough and all of that. So, in your head, what does that look like for Tailz? And when you are thinking about now scaling, you in a year you're already in 5 cities, which is in itself commendable. How do you think about scaling the brand and the business? And if you had to fast forward to maybe where Rashi is right now, what does it look like for you?
We want to normalize hosting. So hosting should not be such a big deal. Like, anybody and everybody should be able to host.
Yeah.
And I think I've also realized, like, if you look around yourself, when we're sitting in an urban setting, actually dogs or maybe cats as well are the only other living beings or species that we ever interact with.
Yeah.
We've literally eliminated everything else.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's what brings some amount of empathy in us and some amount of sensitivity towards what other beings can bring in our lives and being sensitive to them. So I think for Tailz, I would want that. In my mind, I see that it makes people sensitive. There is an emotional connect, and that's what I want Tailz to do: normalize hosting and make sure that people are in connect with dogs and are able to give dogs or other pets, the best that's there. So all cities, all locations, everybody can be a host.
Nice. And international too?
Yes, why not?
Yeah, why not? That's the right answer. Incredible. So I was just having actually a conversation with with my wife recently, where we have a Frenchie which we had a litter around a year ago, and we kept 2 of the puppies, and actually we're just given the other ones to our friends basically, and my mom took one, and just in a close circle. And it's really interesting to see that same breed, same litter, just how each different household or each different, set of people raised them, and like each of the dogs developed very different personalities, almost like starkly different in some ways, which was just this nurture and nature type of thing that we were noticing. And it was I just found it like super fascinating that how much impact the setting, how you treat the dog, where you keep the dog. It's very much similar to, I guess, bringing up a child in that same way.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to go into like a little bit of a rapid fire-ish segment. So I'm going to start with you, Rashi.
Okay.
And then I'll move on to you. So you get a little bit of an advantage because I'm probably going to repeat the questions. But we'll start quickly.
Okay.
Just one word, or as quick an answer as you can make it. Can you describe Heads Up for Tailz in one word?
Life-changing for me, game-changing for pets and their families, I hope.
Okay, Mansi, can you describe Tailz in one word?
Dog B&B and wagging tails. Yes.
I like that. Cat or dog?
Dogs.
Dogs. On the bed or off the bed?
Oh gosh, on the bed, of course.
In the blanket.
In the blanket. On the leash or off the leash?
On the leash for safety on our roads. They're a bit unpredictable.
On the leash for, on the roads, as Rashi said.
Who's been your business role model?
My dogs. They keep me going and inspiring me every day.
Yeah. And just a quick, how would you describe Rashi as a CEO?
Oh, God. Dreaming big all the time.
And describe to me Mansi as a CEO.
Wild ideas.
And describe to me the culture at Heads Up for Tailz.
We really try to be a people first, but results first also company.
Yeah.
So, I always try to figure out what should be first, and I decided it has to be both.
Yeah.
Both of them have to be right there on the top.
Yeah. It becomes even more when you raise money and you have, have some of that sitting on top of your head.
Absolutely, yes.
And how would you describe the culture?
Pet parents only.
Yeah.
And you have to be in love with dogs to be part of Tailz.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you both that. How much of that is in the interview process of when you're hiring? Because you definitely want, and it also, I think, adds to the culture of the organization,
Absolutely.
right? So how important is that in the way that you're hiring?
Very very important, especially for customer-facing roles and roles where there is an input, the empathy, the compassion, the knowledge, the experience needed.
Yeah.
So things like marketing or customer care or leadership in general, our retail sales, as much as possible. It's hard to do it 100%, but as much as possible, so that they're really able to bring that whole experience, and they are customers then, and the insights that they bring and how they're able to understand others, it's priceless. Very important for us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
First question we ask.
Yeah.
And Muyo has to like them.
Yeah.
I think that, I guess like anyway you would think, someone who wants to work at a company that has something to do with animals definitely loves animals, but it's definitely a good filter in like getting the culture out there. I wanted to probably dive a little bit more into the business side, of things, and how much ever you guys are, comfortable sharing. So, Rashi, just can you go a little bit more into the business? What does it really entail?
Sure.
What are really the revenue streams?
Okay. For us, it's fairly straightforward. It's, of course, the products, right, which is both through online and offline, but also services. We are into grooming, and we have about 45 spas, co-located within our stores.
Yeah.
And the way that, for us at the moment, about 60% revenue comes from offline stores, 40% is online. We also work with Amazon, and that's a significant revenue driver for us. But still, still the focus is more on our own D2C website, and those are really the main.
Do you mind sharing
streams.
some numbers?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think last year we did about 200 crores, and
Awesome.
this year we're hoping to hopefully reach 300.
Okay.
Let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets harder and harder when the numbers growing up. But
And
let's see.
I think at least I really can resonate with the physical store rollout
Right.
thing, which obviously entails spending capex,
Yes.
finding the right real estate, making sure you design it and are able to get it up quickly. So
Yes.
how did you build that process internally? How do you even select the right neighborhood,
Yeah.
the right store, and do you get the landlords or whatever it is to participate? Are you guys taking these like straight leases?
Yes, it's very much straight leases.
Okay.
The first few locations were easier,
Mm-hmm.
because you know what the busiest parts of town are going to be. And then I think as you grow and scale and you're going into new cities where you don't know so much, you really do have to rely on your networks. We have a good team, the brokers, what we believe is,
Right.
something that is, there could be great locations, but very expensive rent. And then the rent to revenue ratios never make sense. So we have to be mindful about the size, the space, the location, because if you're in retail, there is only one rule: location, 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 right? So how do you balance all of those things?
Yeah.
And it's something that we're constantly learning ourselves. We've made mistakes, definitely a few mistakes, and so we're just learning that, keep sort of sticking to what feels right, what is the most visible, what are the high traffic areas.
Yeah.
And
Got
one
it.
day at a time.
And I know you got Sequoia on
Yes.
board and a few other VCs. What was what was really the thing that got them so excited? And how did they view the business moving forward?
I think that both Sequoia and Whirlinvest are global players, and I think that they're seeing this growth in the pet industry globally.
Yeah.
So I believe that they just wanted to partner on the ground. Both of them are amazing partners, and we're hoping that just the whole network, they're able to open many doors for us. They're able to help us connect to a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that it plays out just the way that we've imagined, both for them and for us. But it's definitely been a very exciting chapter.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You being retail and a lot of it dependent on footfall and all of that happening. How was COVID? How did you manage that entire thing? I know like we went through hell basically for 2 years. I can only imagine it was very similar. So how did you manage that, and what did you do to get through it?
It was extremely hard. Many of our stores were shut for 2 years. But I think that's when we also pivoted a lot of our own attention to the online side. And we tried to stay as agile and as adaptable as possible. We used a lot of the WhatsApps and, to reach out to customers and do deliveries. And I think all of our cars were constantly loaded with orders and just trying to do the best. Because, one part of it, which is the food, is also a little bit of an essential.
Yeah.
So we did have to lobby quite a lot with government to make pet food come into the essentials category and then open up some of our stores, even if it was just to sell pet food. So that's all that we were doing, because there are lots of dogs and cats who are highly dependent on this. So it was very messy, very challenging. But I think we've come out just stronger, knowing that we can handle challenges of all kinds.
One of the things that was a challenge, at least for me, was making sure because we had a similar issue when you walk. Our business is based on people coming
Yes,
into buildings
yes.
and that energy and that
Yeah.
vibe being created and, people working together. So I think when, our buildings got empty, it had also an impact on our team.
Of course.
Right, and employees, and also them feeling like this is a business that is going to last and
Yes.
has that long-term view as well. We'd had so many people leave.
Right.
We had to do a little bit of layoffs and all of that just to manage that entire period. So how did you manage internally? I know like the external bit, but how did
Yeah.
you manage yourself
Right.
firstly?
Right.
And then how did you manage all of the employees and all of that?
The employees, well, I think that we made a conscious decision that we're going to hold a lot of people together through this time, not let anyone go. And we spent a lot of time, doing training and workshops and sort of virtual events and engagement as much as we could just to keep it going. Myself, I think I had, ups and downs, periods of like, despair to like gloom to like, okay, we'll be fine and we can figure this out. To like little spots of optimism, all of that stuff, like all of us did, right? Just the human range of emotions. Going remote itself and building a work from home culture, I genuinely really missed seeing my people, seeing my team. There's so much that you learn just by hearing conversations. It's so much easier to walk up to someone and do a project together than like 500 emails going back and forth on every change, right? So it was definitely very messy, but I think we just tried to be as positive as we could. We continued to connect as often as possible and make it so much more about work, allowing people to share what's going on, challenges that they're facing, provide support. You suddenly don't feel that lonely when you know that there's all of your team who knows what's going on with you and can help in so many different ways. So I also saw lots of, things come together, friendships and teamwork and, how do you build culture remotely? And there was so much learning. And definitely messy. Definitely not all smooth sailing, but I'm happy that we're on the other side, and I hope we never have to go back there again.
I'm with you, by the way. I'm with you. Recently, there was like, the COVID numbers are going up. I was like, don't even utter the word COVID to me anymore. We're done with it. Mansi, what about you? Could walk us through, maybe a little bit about the business model, how you're thinking about it, and what is probably going to be the core part of, everything that you're doing, where you see most of the scale or most of the growth, coming?
So, for us, as I said, boarding and walking, they are two important pieces of the business. That's what we are focusing on. Again, we are very small right now, just about 300 hosts across the metro locations. So we'll continue to build onto that so that you literally have the best provider in your neighborhood and you really don't have to walk away from your neighborhood in these locations. That's our first goal. So, it's always a challenge to go from 0 to 1 and 1 from 1 to 10. And that's when you actually start growing, and then it just becomes, then it's just a multiplier. So we're trying to get to that 10 right now. And I think we'll continue to focus on that. So I really there's so many things that excite me, and my team keeps me in check. They're like, focus, let's get this going. And then that's when we start looking at other things.
By the way, I mean, you should also use this time because when you're that small, doing the crazy stuff actually is amazing. I'll just give you like an example. What we did at one point. So the whole segment was new when we started. No one really knew about co-working. WeWork as a brand also was very US focused at that point in time. So we tried everything. And one of the craziest things we did was we bought like 100 Nimbu Panis, like small little bottles, and it was a whole team standing outside the cricket stadium while the IPL was going on, essentially, and like giving out these Nimbu Panis for free with a WeWork board or whatever it is. it was definitely not legal. I'm sure we were needed some form of license to do that. And but at the end of the day, it was just few young kids who were just excited about this whole new thing, and that we did that. So please don't ever stop doing any of the
I agree.
all the crazy stuff,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Was there anything like that you did?
Everything, Karan. We did everything. Going into markets with t-shirts, heads up for tails, balloons, driving around in cars in doggy costumes. I mean, we have done everything, right? You have to.
Yeah.
That's encouraging.
Yeah. So,
So we had, just to give you an example, we had these, I was looking at some profiles in Delhi and I was like, oh, I don't like the photograph. So I was like, I'm taking the camera next weekend and I'm going to each house to click photographs or nice, tidy the house for them and click nice pictures.
Yeah, so
I can imagine we have to
do
do
it
crazy
and
things.
definitely enjoy it, because after some time, everyone gets really strict on how you have to act.
Yeah.
What is a message maybe you guys want to put out to anyone watching this? How pet owners can be maybe better, and we can all do better with sort of owning our pets.
I think for me, I want to change. Actually, I want to drop the usage of the word pet owners.
Okay.
I don't think that you can ever really own a life. And when we use, words matter. They carry an energy. They carry a vibe. And globally, that's what we're called, right? Dog owners, pet owners. And in some way, subconsciously, we believe that we have the right to own them, to do what we want, to abandon them one day, to, walk them when we want, and take away a lot of choices, and really sort of, it becomes a little bit more selfish. And I think that we need to really look at this as a huge responsibility, a lovely responsibility, very much like parenting, that we are, bringing this animal into our home, and they are so dependent on us, and they give us so much. And all that they want in return is for us to understand them as a species. So, and what do they really need to thrive, for the species that they are, in terms of their nutrition, their grooming, their training, their, walks and behavior and habits, and, understanding their personal, individual personalities, not, saying, okay, a lab should be friendly. Why is my lab like that? And why is yours like that? I think just changing the whole concept of ownership to parenting, where, every child is different. Every child needs something different from us. And really sort of just shifting the lens a little bit to say that there's so much that we can do. And, these creatures are just so special. So that's that from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And adding on to what Rashi just mentioned is when you are looking at it as an owner, again, it's like you decide for them. But when you're looking at it as a parent, you approach it completely differently. So when a couple decides to have a baby, they understand what parenting is all about. They go through that, what happens when I get pregnant, all of those things. You actually understand that entire bit. But with dogs, a lot of people just decide one day, okay, I'm getting a puppy, and this puppy looks cute, and they just get, the labs look really cute, so let's get a lab. Or Shih Tzu is really cute, let's get a Shih Tzu. So that's how we approach it. But if they start approaching it as parents, they're going to understand what breed works for them, their lifestyle, where they're staying. They're going to put in effort in that. We've had cases where people say that my puppy's become aggressive. And puppy is 6 months old. The poor chap is teething, right? Not becoming aggressive.
Yeah.
So it's very important. Had the person done a little bit of research before getting, what are the life stages? What is my puppy going to go through before this would not have happened. So I think it's very important to understand that you're responsible for someone else's life.
Yeah.
And to take that responsibility, you need to understand what parenting is.
Yeah.
I think that's...
Is there someone in your lives, I hope there are, but who is that person in your life that, when you do feel a little bit shaky about what you're doing, encourages you? How do you find that, when you're having just a low day or whatever it is, how do you find that kind of push to keep going?
Oh, honestly, I just have to sit quietly with my dogs.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Okay.
and I find what I need just from that solitude. And actually, pets are the only creatures that you can even allow into your solitude.
Yeah.
When you want to be alone, but they're there, it's really special, right? That you can actually share that solitude with them. And I think that, they give me the inspiration and the encouragement to get up one more time when I have fallen and just keep going. Really, there's so much passion and so much drive that I wake up with every day, just hoping that we can do better. And I stumble a lot, and all of us do on our journeys. But I think it's just about, getting up that one more time and again and again and again to keep going. And they are what keeps me going.
Yeah.
Truly.
And just one day at a time. That's
One day at a time.
One day at a time.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What about for you, Mansi?
All is well.
All is well.
Keep going.
Yeah. No, I mean, every entrepreneur, I'm sure every entrepreneur watching this also is that there are a lot of times when it's just you, like you said, and you have to just figure out how to keep pushing, and then one day at a time, and then you're 15 years later and you build like the biggest brand. I want to maybe get a little bit of perspective of you guys outside of this, your whole career work setting. Some of the stuff that you like doing. How do you spend a weekend when you're not working, or what does that look like?
I have a 10-year-old daughter.
Okay.
So she's waiting, through the week when we are at work for the weekend to come so that we can do something fun.
Yeah.
So we would normally start with a nice family breakfast, take the dogs for a walk, and do something fun with her. She, we call it mini adventures, a little something that's on in town or a friend's house or swimming or whatever it is, something fun. And for me personally, I love some downtime. The week is hectic, so I love some downtime. I love to sit down with a book and just lose myself, things like that. Yeah, simple, There are
a lot of places around Delhi. Do you guys get to visit?
Not
really.
that much. Not that much. Because there are lots of places, but all of them are a 6, 7, 8 hour drive. So that's a whole day just gone and getting there. And but there are some lovely places. I have been to quite a few, but not getting away as much as I'd like to. But yes. Yeah.
And what about you?
For me, I think that's sports. So
I was just going to ask about that.
So I do love playing.
Yeah.
And for me, that's like an everyday thing. I really need to do that to get the energy going.
What do you play?
I actually play badminton.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I did like a crazy thing when I was 30. So I'd always wanted, I want an India jersey, right? I want my name on an India jersey.
Wow.
When I was 34, I was like, okay, I'm going to play for India. Yeah. So when most people are just talking about fitness goals, so my family thought I've just gone crazy. I've just lost it. So it was exactly like doing a startup, right? Because people usually around you say you've lost it. So that was my first time I heard you've lost it. I was like, okay, I'm still going to play for India. So there is a master's category that actually starts at 35 and it goes on till 75. I said, I'll play. It's at 75, but I will play. So I'm going to start now and I'm going to play.
Yeah.
So thankfully, 2 years later, I actually did manage to play the World Championship and I got my t-shirt.
That's incredible.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So I think that keeps me going.
Yeah.
That's my positive energy. And I think that's also the biggest fear. You have to be injury free to actually play. So my biggest fear also comes from there. That I don't want an injury because I want to play.
So do you play every day? Do you have a workout regime?
Yeah, so the first time when I started playing, I used to play like Dhal Gaya Din, so you're just standing and playing. So from there, getting to actually being trained, it was obviously difficult. So the first year was very difficult.
What does it entail? What do you really need to?
So the first I requested like few people that could they train me. So they said, okay, when they heard the age, they said, go. We're not training anybody. How will you fit in? So obviously it was difficult finding a trainer at first. But then there was somebody who agreed. And he said, I'll train you if you can do 2,000 skipping in front of me. And I was this frail little person. Like, I did not have zero muscle. I had zero muscle in my body.
Yeah.
So like frail looking, small little, like I used to, very small frame and all. So it's like you can do 2,000 skips for me and I'll train you. I'm like, okay, I've never done skipping in my entire life. And I'm just standing there. So for next 2 hours, I was just standing in a corner and trying to skip. So I think that's where it started. And it was difficult. The first year diet, I was not talking, like literally not socializing because I was practicing every day. The diet was very strict, gym, and then 2 times on the court, full training. And so 12 months, I gave it all completely. And then I could see some shape taking. So then it was a bit easier after that.
Nice.
And I think 2 years later, when I was about 36, 37, that's when I got to play the World Championship. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how much of that whole experience, do you feel like has helped you with this and like, building out the company? Because I feel like there's always a lot of similarities just in being an athlete and also being, competitive, and then also having that drive, I guess, internally to do something. So how much do you think that?
I think the craziness was the first thing.
Yeah.
That yes, I could dream big, dream crazy.
Right.
And then obviously I saw time management, hard work, perseverance, these 3 things. And I think even today, because I play, right? And it just means that the time management becomes very critical. If I have to make sure that I'm turning up for my practice and I'm able to play and give my 100% on the court, it also means that I'm able to manage my schedule through the day.
Yeah.
So I think it really helps. It helps me stay focused.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've learned.
Awesome. And it's nice that you're, still keeping it with you. I know just having that 1 hour in the morning that I do workout is so centering, I think, for all of our craziness. And it's probably the 1 hour where you don't have your phone or you're not really actually, distracted in that. So I think it's extremely important for anyone. I think anyone doing anything, but especially if you're, always under the pressure, have all of this, stuff that you need to do, and you're leading a team, leading a business, it definitely helps a lot more.
Yeah.
Great. I want to wrap up with, Mansi, maybe you telling Rashi how much of her story kind of inspires you, and maybe, some sort of like mutual appreciation. I don't know, Rashi, if you want to share something, words of encouragement or some sort of like learning of, being down this road.
I think Mansi's all set to fly. She's already proved, and that's what I'm taking away, that when you decide you want to do something, you just do it. And you can set your mind to anything. I mean, she decided to play for India and she's played for India. That's so cool, right? Yeah. And that's really it, that actually we all have so much power. We give it away very often, but we have all the power to do whatever we want, and we can start now. So thank you for reminding me that, not to give up on my dreams and to keep going. So that's what I'm taking away. So forget words of encouragement. I am taking lots of encouragement
that's
from
amazing.
her and taking that into my day-to-day.
Rashi's been always an inspiration, right? I think I came across Heads Up for Tail way back in 2010. Was it the time you opened the first store in GK? Was it 2000?
GK, I think 2-3 years ago.
Okay, and so some store that I'd seen in 2010.
Okay.
Around that time.
Right.
That's when I actually came across Heads Up for Tail. I don't recall the exact incident where I came across Heads Up for Tail. And I think I've been inspired by it since then, because there was no market. They Heads Up for Tail literally created that market. They could see it. And they held through, right? Last 15 years, being there, being around in the market and it's absolutely inspirational.
Thank you.
And the other fact that I love is the kind of team that you've built. Again, amazing to be people first and also to be able to deliver on the results. as you said, you did not let go of people during COVID. That's such an easy decision to make. I mean, not easy, but easy.
Yeah.
Right? And going through that with your entire team, I think that's amazing. So it's totally inspirational.
Amazing. Well, thank you both for being here. I think this was a huge learning for me, and also just inspiring to see, both of you all building whatever it is you're both building, and, inspiring so many other entrepreneurs that, hopefully watch this. And again, I just want to congratulate both of you on an incredible journey, and thank you for sharing that journey with us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.